what's your name? Yeah, I'll tell you my name in a second. Let me get this stream going. It's going. All right. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Tremaine Wills. I own a company called Mind Over Money, where I am on a mission to help 1 million women and their families grow their invested assets to $1 million or more. We do that through comprehensive financial planning, investment advice, teaching and promoting financial literacy through segments like this. So you are watching Questions That Need Answers. I've been going live for a few days now, just answering pressing financial literacy questions in an effort to ensure that we have the education we need to improve our finances, right? So a lot of us want to know like the answers to the sexy questions, like what stock should I buy and all that good stuff. But before you get there, you typically need some foundational support with like making the monies available to invest, right? So that's the purpose of these conversations, is to ensure that when it's time for you to invest, you can actually leave the money invested because your foundation is secure, right? So if you can think of anyone who might benefit from these types of lessons, feel free to share these streams. Make sure that you're following me on whatever platform that you're watching, and then turn the notifications on so that you'll be able to tune in live and ask those questions live. So good morning, good morning. Yes, I'm glad you were able to tune in live too. So again, today, the question that we're going to be answering is how to create a realistic and effective budget. And I think that for many of us, this might be an ouch or amen moment, but I'm still going to share it because I want to make sure that you get what you need. So I always like to ask, where are we tuning in from? I saw somebody say London, which is awesome. I am US based, for those of you who don't know. Our company is based in Virginia, and I service clients throughout the entire United States. So tell me where you are tuning in from. The power of the internet is amazing because we can reach people across the world, right? So we saw that we had some folks from London. I see I got my 757 family tuning in, right? It's always good to get that hometown love. I appreciate y'all, right, for the support and dropping in. So we got some Atlanta folks here, Houston, Texas. Houston has a special place in my heart, right? I love Atlanta. I mean, you can't not love Atlanta besides the traffic, right? But yeah, awesome. More 757. All right, y'all, good. So happy to see that you are here. And if you are watching the replay, drop where you're tuning in from there too, so we can see how far these trainings go, right? All right, so again, we are answering the question, how to create a realistic and effective budget. Oh, before I forget, if you need a budget template and video tutorial, you can comment get budget if you're watching this on Instagram. And if you are not watching on Instagram and you're watching on any other platform, you can send a text message that says get budget to 757-300-5715 to get the budget template and video tutorial, right? So I like to make sure that with every live that I do, there's a resource to support, right? So that way you can hear it. And then also when you're ready to execute, you can implement, right? A couple of the workshops that I've been doing, everybody has been saying like, it's better than just hearing. Now you can implement what you've learned. So that's what I like to do. If you want to pair what you're learning today with execution and really start to see transformation, you can get that template. All right. So let's get to it, y'all. How to create a realistic and effective budget. So I want to give you 3 steps that you can take to make sure that you're not just creating a budget and then it goes out the window. All right. So step 1, the very first thing that we need to do is that we need to have financial goals. There needs to be something that we are working towards. All right. Because of course, with our budget, there are our everyday expenses that we need to cover. We have, the variable things that might pop up, entertainment, things that we want to do to carry us day to day. But that's not enough, right? Because if all we needed was to make sure that we cover our day-to-day expenses and we got to, go out to eat, then We could just look at what's in our bank account, and if it's money in there, spend it. And if not, then, we can't do anything, right? But that's why so many of us are trapped in this paycheck to paycheck cycle, is because that's how we operate, right? We just look to see if the money's available and then we spend it. But if you want to be intentional with your finances and you want to make sure that you are progressing forward, and okay, I was making sure my mic was still on. That you are progressing forward and you want to see some positive momentum, positive movement, we need goals. And so when we're creating our budget, we can embed those goals inside the budget, right? Because then it becomes more than, hey, is the money available to pay the bills? Now it's like, hey, am I allocating the money to accomplish the goals I want to achieve, right? And so when I'm working with clients and we're talking about what those goals are, of course, a lot of times it is, hey, we need to save for retirement. If you need to pay down debt, right? Maybe one of your goals is to become debt free, but there might be other things that you want to do too, right? Like take vacations regularly, or you might want to put children through college. You might want to retire a parent. So many different things, right? Buy a home or buy your next home. All of those are goals that you can embed inside of your budget. Now, it's important to start with the goals because now it makes you more committed to sticking with the budget because there's an outcome you're looking to achieve. And it's not just, hey, is the money here for me to go grocery shopping? All right. So that's number one. You need to have financial goals so that you have something you're working towards and you have a target that you're shooting for. Oh no, not overwhelming, Zach. Not overwhelming. All right, so that's the first thing. Then the second piece to make sure that it is realistic and effective is that you need to compare it to your current spending. All right. So what you'll need to do is take a look and see, well, what are those past transactions? What have I been doing? So that when it's time to make adjustments, it's not like this drastic, overwhelming, oh my goodness, and you can't stick with it, right? So when you're comparing to your previous transactions, it's important that you are identifying like, okay, if I have been accustomed to spending $500 or $600, right, eating out, it's not realistic to assume that the very next month I'm only going to spend $50, right? So you have to be intentional with checking to see, well, what has my history been so that you can slowly migrate to where you want to be. So question here, how many goals are realistic? For people who are starting off, I would say to limit it to 2 to 3 goals because you don't want to stretch your budget too thin, right? Because you have tons of goals, right? There's all different things we want to accomplish. But if I'm trying to apply money to 15 different things, right, I won't see much movement, especially if I'm not making a lot of money, right? But if I have 2 or 3 goals where I'm being intentional with investing, I'm being intentional with paying off debt, and I'm rewarding myself with a travel fund, then I can see movement in those areas and it's easier to stay committed. But if I'm trying to do those 3 things and then also, save for down payment on a house and then also, do all these different things, it's hard to see the movement. Now, once you finish one goal, you can move on to the next one, right? That's what we want to do as we're progressing. But it is very challenging to accomplish multiple things at one time when you don't have the track record of success of completing one thing, right? So if you're getting started, start with no more than 3 goals that you put into your budget, and then as you accomplish them you can add more. The next question is, should the goal make returns? That's a great question. So getting a return from your goal is a investment objective, right? It's separate from the goal itself. So the goal might be, hey, I want to retire, and in order to retire I need to get X% return from this strategy, right? So the goal is the outcome that we're looking to achieve. The return is how we get it done or how quickly we can get it done. I hope that makes sense, right? All right. So part 2, right? This second one was we need to compare it to our current spending. So that way we are not trying to make drastic changes that we are not ready for. Because that is why many of us will fail, is because we want to suddenly go from out of control spending to hey, let me get myself together. When the best way to do it is to gradually pull back, right? Um, okay, so that's part two. Then number three is don't fight me, y'all. You got to actually be ready and willing to change because when it's time to hold yourself accountable to the budget that you create, you are going to be met with resistance. You are doing something different. You are pushing yourself into a place where you have to be disciplined. And if you're not ready to change, it doesn't matter how many budgets you make, right? It doesn't matter how effective um, and meticulous you've crafted it to be. If you're not ready and willing to do anything different, you're not going to get different results, right? And so we hear the phrase all the time, right? Insanity is doing the same thing, expecting different results. But we do that all the time, right? We decide we're going to go look out and seek information, and then when it's time to execute it or implement on the information, we don't want to, right? We don't want to change, and change is challenging. But if you want the goal to be realistic and effective, you have to be willing to commit to the change and be disciplined enough to stick to it. Okay. So, what I want to encourage you to do is to not be so um, hard on yourself for being met with the resistance, but realize it's part of the process, right? We have to overcome whatever is holding us in this comfort zone so that we can move into the next season. And for a lot of us, right, that resistance is irritating. It's like we got comfortable in the discomfort, and that's not gonna help you reach whatever financial goals you have. Zach says it sounds like outpatient therapy. I mean, managing our finances can be challenging and our emotions are wrapped up in it. So, like, you got to be in tune and be realistic with how these types of things make you feel, right? So, and that's why I'm like trying to help and give support with how do we make this thing effective and efficient? Because it's more than just the numbers. Because if it was just you create the budget and it works, it sticks, we would all have great budgets. But it's deeper than that, right? We have to have something that is going to keep us sticking with it. We need goals that we're chasing after. Then it has to be a realistic shift, right? We can't expect to all of a sudden turn this switch on and now we're great at it. And so comparing what your previous spending has been and then gradually adjusting it will help you be successful. And then you can get some momentum versus saying you only going to do X and you've been accustomed to wilding out with your money. Then you don't get any success and you get discouraged and you don't want to do it anymore. Right. So we have to set ourselves up for success by modulating our change based on whatever's relative to us. Right. And then the last piece is like you got to be ready and willing to make the transition. Because it's tough, right? Especially with all this marketing and advertising we getting, okay? Everywhere you go, it's like buy something. Buy it now. Right. And if you don't buy it now, everything's gonna fall. It's gonna be terrible, right? So like there's so many different messages coming at us. And so you have to be ready in your mind to do something different, right? So those are the three things. You got to have financial goals. You need to compare it to what you're actually doing right now. And then you got to be ready and willing to stay disciplined because it's going to be tough, right? So, so those are the three things, right? If you are looking for a budget template and a video tutorial, you can comment get budget if you're watching on Instagram, or you can text get budget to 757-300-5715. You can look at the banner that's scrolling across the bottom to get that template so that you can start to see something different with your finances, right? The I would say like the hardest step is creating the budget, but it's not. The hardest step is staying committed to it and maintaining the discipline to keep with it. But that's also the most rewarding because then you start to see the fruit of your discipline and how powerful it is when you say yes to yourself and do the things you said you would do, right? So a lot of us have, and I'm way off. I don't know where this came from, but a lot of us have conditioned ourselves to believe that we don't do what we say we're going to do. And so we don't even try. And so when you do finally do the things that you say you're going to do, you build more confidence and it transfers over into so many different areas, right? So, getting your finances in order, getting a budget in place that you commit to and you stick with, not only improves your financial health, it carries over in so many different areas, right? So, yes, we want your money to be amazing, but we also want you to move into a place where you are thriving and not just surviving. And that happens when things start to get into alignment. I'm not going to preach to y'all today. But what I will say is if you don't have a budget and you need support with a step-by-step tutorial, you can comment get budget or text get budget to 757-300-5715, and you can grab that template where I provide you the template to create your budget and then a step-by-step strategy um, to make sure it's in alignment with what you need, right? All right. So I hope this was good to you. If you enjoyed it and you know anybody else that could benefit from it, share it. Make sure you turn the notifications on so you can tune in with me for tomorrow's live session. I'm going to do my very best to make it the same time, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, every single day, so that we can start to see some forward momentum with our finances, right? So for those of you who don't know me, again, my name is Tremaine Wills. I own a company called Mind Over Money. We're on a mission to help 1 million women and their families grow their invested assets to $1 million or more through teaching and promoting financial literacy and making sure we get our money in order. All right, y'all. I will see you tomorrow.